We're going to talk a little NFL, do some off-season report card grades so far for Graz and Dano. Dano, we start with you. Get us started. What grade would you give the Philadelphia Eagles this offseason?
Well, I got a lot of these. I'm going to give them a C. This Eagles organization needs to get their offensive line back. I don't see how that happens with the loss of their Hall of Fame head coach, Jeff Stoutland. There's still conversation around A.J. Brown. Is he going to be there or not? Where's the pass rush going to come from on the perimeter? And there's a young offensive coordinator who might be great, but there's a giant question mark attached to that. So I still think there's a lot of unknowns. I give it a C.
Graz, that's a one MCE's team. What grade would you give the Giants this offseason?
I think the Giants have had an A offseason. I think it starts with hiring John Harbaugh, who is the best head coach available on the market. And then, in free agency, I like adding Isaiah Likely, upside there, add some pieces on defense. I thought they'd do a little more on the offensive line. I think they still might. But I like everything the Giants have done so far this offseason. I think it's set them up pretty well.
All right, last year the Chiefs inexplicably missed the playoffs. What do you give their offseason this year as they head into this crucial season?
I would give the Chiefs a B. I think this is the most important draft of the Patrick Mahomes era for Kansas City. I think the offensive line should be a better unit, but there's question marks at the number 2 and number 3 wide receiver. There's question marks in the secondary. There's question marks off the edge with the pass rush opposite Karlaftis. And so while there were some good, solid additions, obviously Walker, Alohi Gilman, and Tonga are important parts, I still look at this roster and I say, not as good as the Chargers, not as good as the Broncos, not as good as the Texans, not as good as the Buffalo Bills. So I think it's a massively consequential draft for the Chiefs.
It's a huge draft. The year after they lost Tyreek Hill, I remember they drafted Karlaftis and McDuffie and Pacheco, and they loaded up again. They'd have to do that again. And yesterday they did make some news. They traded for Justin Fields, which raised some eyebrows around the league. Graz, are the Chiefs using Justin Fields as insurance for Patrick Mahomes?
Well, to some extent. They need somebody to operate their offseason and take, OTA reps that Patrick's not probably going to be healthy enough to take. And then, they might need somebody with experience to start the first couple games of the season if he's not back yet from his injuries. So Justin Fields, obviously not coming off a very good season with the Jets, but he's got experience, and you can do some things with him. Maybe even once Mahomes is healthy, there's some packages for him where he can take advantage of his legs. So I think it's a good upside play by the Chiefs because you can give this guy an entire offseason's worth of reps and see if you have something. See if you can maybe get him to do better at some of the things that he struggled with. And if not, really no harm done. You have an experienced backup.
Dan, because of the success of Sam Darnold now, it's an easy thing to say, well, he's the next Sam Darnold. He's going to rebuild his career. But this is his 4th team in 4 years. Do you see Fields being able to save his career and salvage it under Andy Reid?
I don't see this being the Sam Darnold's resurgence or the Baker Mayfield or even the Daniel Jones. I think this is, to Dan's point, Kansas City needs a guy that has starting experience in April, in May, in June, and certainly in August till Patrick gets back. I think the biggest unknown of all this is if Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy come to Justin Fields and say, let's make you our version of Taysom Hill, are you willing to say yes?
That's interesting.
Because then there's a very bright future for Justin. I think Justin as a quarterback right now is probably, we've settled on what he is. I've been the biggest Justin Fields fan from years ago. But I think if they come to him and say, hey, we're going to build this package around you becoming our version of Taysom Hill, where you're kind of this hybrid piece, is he willing to accept that and say yes? If he is, I think he's going to be a difference maker. I think he can make a ton of money in the future on that.
Yeah, I think I want to go back one question when you were saying how significant this draft is for the Chiefs. All right, so lay it out. They have 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
What would you like to see?
I would love to see them draft Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon.
Big tight end that can play with Kelsey?
Yeah, with Kelsey. And it's the runway to becoming their next version of that. I mentioned the question marks at the number 2 or 3 wide receiver spot. You still have, I think it re-signed Tyquan Thornton.
Yes.
They still have the speedster Xavier Worthy, but there's question marks around him.
Sure.
Get Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon. He's the chess piece. You put those 2 tight ends on the field, the athleticism, the speed, Andy Reid's vision of how to utilize that weapon on an offensive perspective. I think that, and then some type of pass rush help.
Yeah.
If I could pigeonhole one, you could not get off the field on 3rd down on defense last year. You couldn't get off the field. And so it was because you couldn't get to the quarterback. So you got to find some way to get that pressure back to the quarterback, Karlaftis, Chris Jones. Can they add to that?
Remember, the Rams pick, they have their own pick. The Chiefs have 2 different first-round picks. That is very interesting for a team that's been in the playoffs all these years. Coming up, Luka, LeBron.
And we start with breaking news in the NFL. The Jets trading quarterback Justin Fields to the Chiefs for a 2027 6th-round draft pick. New York had already traded for Geno Smith to be the starter this fall. Fields will get plenty of off-season reps in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes recovering from ACL surgery. And senior NFL insider Adam Schefter broke that news earlier today and joins us now. Shefty, why did the Chiefs acquire the 27-year-old Fields?
Well, Kevin, you touched on the biggest reason. Patrick Mahomes coming off that torn ACL. They need somebody to get reps during the offseason program and during training camp. And Justin Fields provides that. Plus, just last week, the Chiefs lost Gardner Minshew, last year's backup quarterback, to the Arizona Cardinals. So they had to replace Minshew. And then you look at this. Eventually, the Chiefs don't like to run Patrick Mahomes, especially coming off a major knee injury. They could use Justin Fields as a weapon in certain spots. So there are a whole host of reasons to go out and acquire a quarterback as talented as Justin Fields, who can bring a different element to your offense, help replace Mahomes, help replace Gardner Minshew, provide a different look. There are a whole multitude of reasons that Kansas City went out today, and for the low cost of a 2027 6th-round draft pick, went out and traded for Justin Fields.
And think about this. After being drafted by the Bears in the 1st round of the 2021 draft, the Chiefs will be Fields' 4th team in 4 seasons. Shefty, thank you so much. The latest in the NFL. Fields has had some high points in his career and some low points because of the struggle here. And some of that is because of the offense he's been a part of. As a starting quarterback, he's 16-37, 3rd lowest winning percentage since 1950. Only Archie Manning and David Carr have a worse record. Now he gets the chance to reshape his career under Andy Reid. For much more, NFL analyst Mina Kimes joining us now. Mina, you know, the first thing I thought of is Fields gets to be in a quarterback room with Patrick Mahomes and then play for Andy Reid. How do you like this fit in Kansas City?
At that price, I like it a lot. I mean, let's start there. This is extremely low risk, $3 million. That's not just backup money. That is cheap backup money. And in Justin Fields, you're getting one of the more experienced, I would say, backups in the league now in terms of having actually started games and at times played at, an average to above average level. I'm not saying that he is an above average starter, but that's not what Kansas City needs him to be. I also think they can use him in packages. This is a team that hasn't run quarterback sneak since Patrick Mahomes got hurt on one in 2019. So Justin Fields gives them that flexibility as well. They could use him in the red zone. Now, do I think you're comfortable if he's starting a large number of games? No, but that's not what this is about. This is about getting some security for Patrick Mahomes in case of the injury and a capable backup should they need him to come in during the regular season.
You talk about the idea of mobility. For comparison now, Fields has more rushing yards in 5 seasons, 59 games, than Mahomes has in 9 seasons. That's 126 games. Mina, she's going to come back with much more.